The shock that hit my parents was palpable, a physical wave of fear and disbelief that washed over the entire reception hall. But it wasn't the realization that they had just bankrupted me. It was the realization that I had just purchased their entire lives. My sister, Clara, was getting married, and the centerpiece of my parents' efforts had been this lavish, frankly obscene $200,000 wedding. They had spared no expense, because, as my mother liked to say, Clara deserves a fairy tale, and we are the ones who must provide it. The only problem: the money for that fairy tale didn't come from some untapped inheritance or a savvy investment. It came directly from me. 3 months before the wedding, I had discovered, quite by accident, that my parents, my own mother and father, had secretly liquidated my inheritance, a beautiful little ski chalet in the mountains, that my late grandmother had left specifically to me. They sold it for $215,000, and every single penny went toward Clara's wedding budget, a fact they were actively hiding. They justified it by claiming, "You weren't using it, Liam. Clara needs this more." I didn't find out until the deed transfer notice slipped out of my father's briefcase. I was speechless, betrayed, and utterly broke. I had been robbed by the people I trusted most, all for a single, extravagant party. But what they didn't know was that I had been quietly managing the multi-million-dollar real estate empire of my incredibly wealthy boss, Mr. Sterling, for years, and he had given me an open, authorized line of credit. I hadn't spent the last 3 months sobbing. I had spent them executing the perfect, devastating financial counter move. It wasn't until the toast at the wedding rehearsal dinner, a night dedicated to celebrating Clara and mocking my supposed financial struggles, that I stood up and revealed the chilling truth, handing my father a meticulously prepared legal document. His hands, which had signed away my chalet without a thought, literally began to shake when he read the single sentence I had highlighted. ***, effective immediately, all outstanding mortgages and deeds to 14 Riverwalk Lane, the family home, and 28 Grand U offices, your business property, are held by the bearer. ***, the question I wrestled with, as the room collapsed into stunned silence, wasn't whether I should accept their betrayal, but how hard I should squeeze that financial leverage, knowing my parents' comfortable life and my father's entire company were now completely under my control. Was I wrong to use a vast, borrowed fortune to systematically dismantle the comfortable, arrogant life my parents built on my lifelong sacrifice? Tell me if you would have done the same thing. To truly understand the depth of their betrayal, you need the history of the perfect family dynamic. I am the older son, Liam, and Clara is the younger, cherished daughter. From childhood, my role was always clear: the stable, dependable one who required minimal attention, freeing up my parents, David and Carol, to focus all their resources, time, and affection on Clara. She was the star athlete, the popular one, the one destined for a big life. I was the quiet, nerdy one who got good grades and worked 2 jobs through college just to pay for my own tuition, something my parents deemed building character. The one exception, the one genuine gift of love in my early life, was the ski chalet. It wasn't massive, but it was beautiful. A cozy, 3-bedroom log cabin near a major resort, left to me by my grandmother, my father's mother, who passed away when I was 16. She knew how much I loved the mountains and explicitly stipulated in her will that the property, free of all encumbrance, was for me alone, to be transferred on my 25th birthday. That cabin was my sanctuary, my future, and the only tangible proof that someone in my family valued me as an individual. I planned to use it as collateral for my own startup, or maybe live there one day. I received the deed 2 years ago. I kept it quiet, knowing my parents would find a reason to bleed it dry. Meanwhile, I landed an incredible, albeit discreet, job. I became the chief of staff and financial manager for Mr. Sterling, a legendary real estate tycoon who valued secrecy above all else. I managed his entire private portfolio, a maze of holding companies, commercial properties, and luxury estates easily worth over $500 million. My salary was fantastic, but more importantly, my access was unlimited. Mr. Sterling trusted me implicitly, giving me full legal authority to move capital, purchase land, and manage property deeds under his various company names, and he authorized me to use his vast capital on a moment's notice, often without even signing off. I was the financial architect of a giant, quiet empire. My parents, of course, assumed I was just a highly paid personal assistant. I never corrected them, enjoying the peace that came with being underestimated. The conflict began a year ago when Clara got engaged. The engagement was lovely, but the wedding planning quickly spiraled into madness. Clara demanded a destination wedding, requiring all 300 guests to fly to a luxury resort. The budget ballooned to $200,000, far beyond my parents' means. My father, David, owned a small, struggling local printing company, and my mother, Carol, was a part-time interior decorator. They were comfortable, but not comfortable. They started taking out increasingly large loans, clearly stressed. I discovered the betrayal 3 months ago. I happened to be at my parents' house checking the mail when my father's briefcase slipped off the hall table, spilling documents everywhere. I helped him gather them, and tucked beneath his business invoices was a final sale and deed transfer document. The address listed was my chalet. The sale price was $215,000. The sellers were listed as David and Carol, and the buyer was an anonymous LLC. My chalet, my grandmother's gift, my future was gone. I confronted them privately, my voice shaking with a cold fury I rarely allowed myself. My mother, initially defensive, quickly turned manipulative. "Liam, darling, don't be dramatic. It's just a cabin. We needed the capital injection. The bank loans were killing your father's business, and Clara's wedding her life is more important than an unused piece of wood in the mountains. We'll pay you back, eventually. Think of this as your contribution to the family." My father just looked at his shoes, confirming his complicity. They had gambled my future on a party. They had effectively stolen my inheritance, confident that my quiet nature and their assumed parental authority would let them get away with it. The money was already gone, poured into deposits for the resort, the caterer, and the custom gown. I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I simply walked out and spent the next 12 weeks planning their quiet, complete financial demolition. Their weakness was the family home and my father's business property. David had stretched his assets thin to secure his business loans, using the equity in both properties. I called Mr. Sterling, explained the situation only vaguely, that I needed to clean up a family real estate dispute, and, without hesitation, he granted me permission to use Sterling Acquisitions LLC as a vehicle backed by his nearly limitless capital. Over the next 2 months, I had my lawyers execute a series of impeccably legal, aggressive maneuvers. We bought the primary debt holders of my father's business loan and the outstanding mortgage on the family home through 3 layers of shell companies. By the week of the wedding, the original lender was out of the picture, and the single largest creditor for both properties, my father's business and the house they lived in, was Sterling Acquisitions LLC, meaning, in effect, me. I now held the deeds, the loans, and the keys to their financial survival, a direct result of the $215,000 they stole. So that's the situation I was in. My parents had stolen my inheritance to pay for my sister's extravagant wedding, showing me exactly where I ranked in their priorities. I now had the full, quiet financial leverage to destroy the comfortable life they were clinging to. I could have waited, simply foreclosed on the properties, and walked away with my wealth intact, leaving them ruined in private. Or I could choose the rehearsal dinner the night before their crowning social achievement to deliver the public, humiliating lesson they deserved, using their own audacity as the setting. I wanted them to feel the utter terror of losing control, the same way they stole mine. Before I tell you the cold, methodical way I delivered the final verdict, a verdict that ensured they would never again take a family member for granted, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have prioritized discrete financial gain and peace, or would you have used the massive, borrowed wealth to orchestrate their total and catastrophic financial and social ruin? Seriously, let me know what choice you would have made right there. I chose the orchestrated, total ruin. The wedding rehearsal dinner was held in a private room at the resort, small enough to be intimate, large enough to hold about 40 immediate family members, bridal party members, and Michael's most influential relatives. My mother, naturally, made a point of excluding me from the toasts until the very end, sighing dramatically, and finally to Liam, who always finds a way to support the family, in spirit, if not always financially. It was a calculated dig at my supposed inability to contribute to the wedding fund, which, ironically, was my fund. I stood up slowly, picking up my glass. The room settled. I smiled, a genuine, terrifyingly calm smile. Thank you, Mother, and thank you, David, for that beautiful sentiment. I actually have a small presentation to make tonight, one that clarifies exactly how I feel about supporting the family. I didn't bring a PowerPoint. I brought the documents. I walked over to the head table where my father was sitting, his hands resting smugly on the white tablecloth. I placed a thick, leather-bound portfolio directly in front of him. I then reached into the portfolio, pulled out a single, highlighted page, and slid it over. The document was a summary of the debt assignment, executed by Sterling Acquisitions, LLC. This is the deed assignment for the loan that secures 14 Riverwalk Lane and 28 Grandview offices. I announced, my voice clear and carrying over the sudden silence. As of 2 weeks ago, I, acting as the designated representative for the new lender, hold the deeds to your home and your business property. My mother laughed, a brittle, nervous sound. Liam, stop this silly game. You're an assistant. You don't buy mortgages. I ignored her, focusing on my father. He was staring at the paper, his eyes tracing the name Sterling Acquisitions, LLC . He was a business owner. He knew what corporate debt assignment meant. He looked up at me, his face suddenly ashen. The cold, triumphant glint I'd seen in his eyes when he rationalized stealing my chalet was replaced by pure, blinding terror. The interest accrued on the $215,000 you stole from my inheritance. I continued, calmly narrating the facts, was immediately reinvested in acquiring the debt instruments for your properties. It was, as you call it, my contribution to the family. And now, David, your business and your home answer to me. That's when his hands started shaking. He tried to speak, but only a dry whisper escaped. My mother was now screaming, not laughing, "This is extortion. You can't ruin us for a silly cabin." I reached into the folder again and pulled out 2 crisp, official envelopes. No, Mother, I'm not ruining you. You did that by selling my future. I am merely enforcing consequences. These are formal default notices. The lender is calling the loans in full. You have 60 days to provide the full collateral or pay off the total remaining debt. Given the current state of 28 Grandview offices, I anticipate foreclosure will be initiated within the month. The rehearsal dinner dissolved into absolute pandemonium. Clara started crying, realizing her fairy tale was built on a lie. Michael's family, who prided themselves on impeccable business ethics, looked on with stunned, cold disapproval, instantly recognizing the severity of the situation. They didn't see me as the villain. They saw my parents as unethical cheats. My father spent the next 2 weeks frantically trying to find replacement financing, but with sterling acquisitions. A name synonymous with hostile corporate takeovers holding the deeds, no bank would touch him. He begged, he pleaded, he offered to pay me back the $215,000 plus interest. My final verdict was delivered 2 days after the wedding, a ceremony I barely registered, distracted by the coming fallout. I walked into my father's struggling print shop, flanked by 2 corporate security officers and a property lawyer. The business was already in arrears. David, I said, my voice low and final. The $215,000 you took was a symptom of a larger problem, your lack of respect for me. The property is gone, but I will give you a choice. I won't liquidate your business immediately, but I will take both properties. I will then immediately sell the business property, and the proceeds will pay off the family home mortgage entirely. You and Mother will have a fully paid off home, allowing you to retire comfortably, but the business is finished. I am liquidating 28 Grandview offices and absorbing your assets into a new holding company. My father collapsed onto his desk. My mother, when she heard the news later, raged, but there was nothing they could do. They lost their business, their source of pride, and their financial control. But I left them with one thing they didn't deserve: security. They now live in the fully paid, off family home, comfortable but perpetually ashamed. The business, my father's legacy, is gone. Clara and her new husband, whose wedding was, in the end, only funded by my misery, are now struggling to maintain the lifestyle she expected, knowing every lavish detail was bought by theft. They are estranged from me, unable to face the truth. As for me, I kept my job with Mr. Sterling, who applauded my decisive action and strategic financial mind. I quietly sold the business property for a massive profit, securing my own financial future tenfold, far exceeding the value of the original chalet. The chalet, the symbol of my worth, was gone, but in its place I built a foundation of absolute control. The greatest victory was watching my father realize that the quiet, unfinancial son was actually the power player who valued honesty and consequences more than he valued their approval. I now have the peace and the respect that was denied to me for 30 years. I look back now and know I made the right choice. My calculated revenge wasn't about the money. It was about delivering an unforgettable lesson on the true cost of familial theft. Like this video if you think I delivered the perfect, justified financial karma. Subscribe for more stories about secret trusts and spectacular revenge. And please, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. Do you think I was too lenient by leaving them with the fully paid, off-family home, or was the loss of their business the ultimate, perfect punishment? I'll see you all in the next story.